Why are you looking at me like that?
What? Like what?
Like I'm a crazy person.
Hey guys.
Hey y'all, what's happening? So listen, we are getting ready to... What are we getting ready to do?
Welcome to this week's episode of Behind Closed Doors.
No, that's not how you're supposed to say it. That's not how you're supposed to say it.
Today we're talking about reigniting the spark.
No, that's not how you...
marriages.
That's not how you say it. For those of you guys that are just joining the channel, welcome to Behind Closed Doors. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Isn't that what I just said?
No, that's not what you just said. You were saying all the other part, and you didn't get to that part. You're supposed to put that part on the front end.
Welcome, guys. See you soon.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr. Sitting here beside me, or actually standing, is none other than the beautiful,
the lovely, the
light-skinned,
the fabulous,
oh Lord,
Cherie A. Brooks Jr.
Why you got so many titles? Listen, so for those of you guys that are new to the channel, we appreciate y'all for being here. Do me a favor, like, share, subscribe to the channel so that you can know when it is that we come on every Thursday. We come to you guys from Panama City, Panama, in most cases. Behind closed doors. Now, for those that don't know the backstory, Cherie and I have been married for 25 years.
25
in a row.
Years.
Listen, long. We're just coming off of an exciting 25th wedding vow renewal, of which
we said I do again.
Why we did that? You see how her face got... No, listen. So, about 50 of our friends came through, and babe, one of the things, and we're going to talk about that today, is this idea of boredom in a 25-year-long relationship or any long-term relationship. I think about people who literally have been doing this for years and years and years.
Right.
And it becomes mundane after a while, whether they're dating or they're in a coupled relationship of some kind, married. It gets trite sometimes.
Right. I mean, if you think about doing anything for 25 years, it can get boring. Even if you're on the same job for 25 years, it can get boring because it gets routine.
Absolutely.
In your marriage, things become routine over time, and that can cause boredom. When you're used to the normal routine of you come home from work, you go through the motions, you cook dinner, you put the kids to bed, you go to bed at night. It's just that you get up in the morning, you go to work. It becomes a routine over time, and if you don't do things to break up that routine, that's when boredom definitely sets in.
So I want to talk about a little bit this celebration that we just came off of, you guys. If you ever Googled Panama City, Panama, and you see the skyline, we are recording at the base of that skyline. It's the Centro Costera. It's a place where people walk. As you can see, they're out, they're about. Today is actually a holiday, and they are celebrating Carnival, which is on the other end of the Centro Costera. We decided not to broadcast from there because it would have been just way too loud and chaotic. However, it's the doing new things part I want to kind of talk about.
Right.
So on this anniversary celebration we just had, we had about 50 people that came through, and they all celebrated something that they had never done.
Right.
In all their cases, they had never been to Panama.
Right.
So that was one of those things, babe. And I think that a lot of times people wait until they can do the big things to celebrate what we would consider the first things.
Right, right. And one thing I think that we have done successfully over the course of the 25 years, we have always practiced doing new things together.
Right.
To discover new things, whether it's going to, on a trip somewhere, whether it's just having a picnic lunch in a park. We've always practiced doing new things together, things that we've never done before together. And so that has helped to keep things from getting boring because there's always something new. We've had a lot of firsts in the
25 years that we've been married.
Been together. It's always been something new.
And that's why I talk about those firsts a lot of times, because for us, we don't think about it from the standpoint of let's do something new.
Right.
What we do say is let's do something.
Right.
So let me start right there. One of the things that I need you to do is to get out of this mindset that says, I am accepting the mundane. I am accepting the day-to-day. We call it the hamster wheel. One of the reasons that we moved to Panama City, Panama,
Was to get
was
off
to
the hamster
create
wheel.
a way for us to get off the hamster wheel.
Right.
We knew that because of the temperatures being this way year round, it's gonna beg for you to come outside. It's gonna cause you to say, you know what? I wanna do something that I normally wouldn't do. And that's what I want you to do. Step one is break out of the mold of the mundane.
Right, do something new, do something different. Maybe it's even something you guys did when you were younger, when you guys first got together. Go bowling. Those things that you haven't done in a while, even when you redo it, it's a new experience.
Absolutely.
Because you're doing it at 50 when you were doing it at 25.
Ooh,
and so
that's
make sure
good.
you always try to create new experiences for you and your spouse, because that's going to break up the monotony. Another way to break up the monotony, the routine in your relationship, is your own personal development.
Ooh, that's
I think
good,
one
babe.
thing that happens is people, we get stuck in who we are.
Yep.
And if you're not a person who is interpersonal,
I was this way when you married me.
right? If you're not a person,
I'm not going to change. Oh my God, that sounds like a conversation we had last
yeah,
night.
we just had one about a particular area.
Oh my
but
God.
if you're not the type of person that is invested in yourself and growing and developing, then that's going to create some boredom in a relationship, because who wants to be with the same person for 25 years? And what I mean by that
Sharina,
is
you
that
done stepped on something right now,
what I
girl.
mean by that is we are organic beings, just like plants and trees, and we should be evolving, we should be growing. And if one partner is growing and the other isn't, that's going to
absolutely
create
right.
a rift, because that person is going to become stagnant. And so you never want to become stagnant personally. Like for me, I went back to school, you know, after we had been married probably 10 years, and I went back to school to get my degree. That was me investing in me to grow, to improve on myself. Even physically, we've done things.
Yeah. One thing I want to jump in before you leave that part about personal growth. I remember when you decided that you wanted to go back to school. For those of you guys who have this notion that you got to be doing new things together, I want to smash that myth right now. Because the problem is, Cherie, I think that when you've done life together with a person for so long, there's this natural inclination that if we're not doing it together, we're not doing it.
Right.
Wrong. Cherie decided, for reasons that she wanted,
Right.
to go back to school and get her degree, to do that. I have no desire to do that. Zero. But in her doing that, what it did was it added value to us.
Right.
So for those of you that don't know, we are coaches. We have written 9 books together. We work with people in terms of growing their personal and professional development. We have a whole business model around that. Her getting her degree has done nothing but add value to our business model. So I can have value added to me. I can have value added to our relationship without me always being connected to what it is that you want to do, or vice versa.
Right. And the other part of me deciding to invest in me and to invest in my own personal growth, it helped me to develop as a person. Whereas when we first got married, I wasn't a talker.
Right.
I wasn't confident in my ability to speak. I wasn't confident in my ability to hold long conversations. Glenn is a talker.
No, I'm not.
A debater.
No,
Him
I'm
and
not.
our daughter would debate religiously and have these long conversations, and I would sit back and just watch them early on in our marriage. But
And
me
basically
going,
scream, like, y'all
right,
need to stop,
right. Y'all need
cut
to
it out.
calm that down. But as I've grown and become more confident in who I am, I have a voice now, and I'm more willing to talk, I'm more willing to share. And so that
Absolutely.
has increased our ability to engage with one
Absolutely.
another, to have debates, which is something that has helped to progress our relationship in ways that I never even imagined.
Right.
Not only has it been beneficial for our business, but it's been beneficial for our relationship, because I grew personally and I'm much more outgoing. It's helped me to broaden my personal horizons as a person, because I invested in me and decided to do something for me to help me to grow.
So the other thing that I do want to kind of touch upon, babe, and I know you got a list, but I want to kind of really help people understand that boredom has everything to do with how you see the world.
Yes.
So for example, I'm a fun person. Like, I love people. I love getting in rooms where there's a lot of energy. Cherie is very different from me than that. But one of the things that I realize is that my worldview, or the way I see things, really lends to me coming out of a shell on a regular basis. Because there are times where I don't feel like peopling. I don't feel like being in rooms with people. The pandemic really did a number on me. I'm a natural extrovert. I am a natural, we call them the flamingo, right? I'm a people person. But when you're in environments that, quite frankly, shape how you naturally are, it can have an adverse effect. So I want to encourage you guys that when it comes to boredom, I want to challenge you on how you see the world. What do you consider fun? What do you consider excitement? Why don't you lean into that? Because at that particular point, what it does, and it goes back to what you said, babe, it is going to add value to you as a person. And I'm going to promise you this, y'all. You can't add value to you without adding value to y'all. Right. I'm going to say it again. You can't add value to yourself and build yourself up without it benefiting both of you.
Right. And lastly, I want to talk about how communication plays a key in reducing boredom in a relationship. You should be able to share your desires, your dreams, your areas that you feel that you are bored in your relationship with your spouse without them taking offense, without them taking it personal. And so that starts with you using I statements. I feel this way. I'm feeling this type of way, or this is something that's bothering me, and them not take offense. Because if you can't share with your spouse that you're feeling bored, or there's a lack of luster in a certain area in your relationship, you can never grow that area, because you can't grow that on your own. So a lot of relationships, long-term relationships, one area that suffers significantly often is intimacy.
Right.
Because as you grow older, your body goes through changes, and you know, your hormonal changes and everything else. And so if you can't communicate with your spouse, hey, I'm feeling this kind of way, I'm not physically feeling these feelings I used to have. It's not that I'm not attracted to you, there's just something going on with me physically that I'm not feeling, you know, as amorous as I used to, and
right.
I can't share that with you without you getting offended and say, well, what is it, me? Or
right.
you want somebody else? That's going to help hinder your relationship, and it'll cause you to become stagnant in that area. And one of the worst things that can happen in a relationship, and I know that people go through this, you wind up sleeping in separate rooms, you wind up being roommates. That's not a marriage.
Right. Come on, say it again.
That is not a marriage. That is a roommate situation. You have a contractual agreement, and I don't think that with age that it has to get to that point. I think if you can communicate with each other, if you can share your feelings, and you guys can work on that.
Right.
I mean, compromise, come up with
right.
new ideas, ways to create that, reignite that spark in your relationship.
So I'm trying to jump in, babe, because I don't want to forget this point. Cherie and I are 57. I'll be 58 in September.
I'll be 59 in March.
And Cherie will be 59 in March. Let me just say this. As we are closer to 60 than we are to 50, I never thought there would be a day where I did not desire to have physical intimate relationships with my wife. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be real transparent. It was difficult for me to say to her, in my mind, I want you. In my mind, I want to be with you, but my body isn't cooperating. And it's not necessarily an ED type of a thing, although that has played a part.
Right.
And I'm just vulnerable enough to say that.
Right.
It is the desire to physically want to go through the humiliation of not being able to show up like that.
Right.
Fellas, let me say this. The biggest thing that I love about Cherie and I's relationship is that I could just tell her that.
Right.
And it wasn't on the heels of performance. Right. It wasn't on the heels of a blow up. It was, I want to share something with you. Mm-hmm. I don't like necessarily who I'm seeing in the mirror these days. I don't like the fact that I look at you and there's no physical response other than, man, that looks good. It ain't you.
Right.
But I'm working on some different things. And let me just say this. This is one of the reasons when we're talking about boredom that caused me to say, what can I do to jumpstart my metabolism? What can I do to restoke my own physical flames in terms of getting up, working out, swimming? So when you see me swimming, when you see us out and about in this, like we relocated so that we could restoke those kinds of fires of want to. I just want to let you know, guys, the communication is critical. Right. Because Cherie, that's what not only divorces are made of, yes. That's where infidelity is made of. All of these things transpire because you don't know how to communicate how it is you really feel, which brings me to the fact that I hate with a passion the statement that says, I'm feeling some type of way.
What does that mean?
I want to challenge you to find words yes. for how you feel.
Right.
And to use them, right? And so if you don't know how to do that, I'll tell you at the time of this particular recording, we're doing a workshop coming up here in February, where we'd love to be able to teach you and train with you on how to create those kinds of environments that really foster connection.
Right. And one thing, I mean, just to piggyback on what you were saying, I think that for women, we go through menopause, we go through hormonal changes. And, you know, sometimes it's difficult to have those conversations, but you should be able to have that conversation with your spouse. I mean, so for me, full transparency, I had a hysterectomy a year after we got married. So
Wow.
my libido didn't go away completely initially.
24 years ago.
24 years ago, but over time, it's gone away. I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest. There is no physical desire, but I desire my husband because I'm attracted to him because of the level of intimacy that we have that's not physical. So it's not that we're not physically involved, but it's not based on a feeling.
Right. It's not stimulated by a physical
feeling. It doesn't
feeling.
Get started, but because
Always.
we're friends, because we talk, because we share
Right.
intimate things, I'm still very much attracted to him. But even when I had to tell him, look, I'm not initiating because I just don't feel it.
Right.
It wasn't an attack on him. He didn't take it personal. And so one thing I want to challenge couples that if you're going through something, whether, you know, it's just age, whether it's hormonal, whether it is ED, whether it is something medically going on, have that conversation with your spouse. And when they share that with you, don't take it as a personal offense if they say they're not physically attracted to you or they're not physically aroused by you. There may be something going on. If you notice that you guys have not been being physically involved, having physical interactions, ask the questions, hey, how are you feeling? Is there something physically going on? Don't just assume the worst.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes it's simply having a conversation, and we've gotten extremely creative over the years in order for us to maintain a connection physically. But that came from us having those conversations and being open with each other and willing to share where we are. It hasn't, you know, like I said, it hasn't stopped us from being physically intimate. It's just not the same way as it was when we got together. I mean, it was like rabbits back then.
Right.
But we old.
Right. And we're okay with that, because one of the things I can say is that because my wife is my friend and because I love hanging out and spending time, over time, those things don't become an issue,
right,
because you're in a room long enough to where you're saying, hey, listen, come here. Let me hug you. Let me start out holding your hand. Let me start out by having an intimate conversation that will lead to things. It just takes a little longer.
Right, to build up.
The build up is just a little longer. The
Right.
ramp to the ramp up is just a little longer these days. That's all.
Right, and that's where you also have to relook at what your definition of intimacy is. Not always physical.
Yep.
Are you doing the non-physical things to foster your intimacy with your spouse? If you're doing those things, the physical is not going to matter as much.
Exactly.
It's gonna make it easier for you to physically be engaged with each other because you have that intimacy in other areas in your relationship.
Guys, we're going to wrap up. As you can see, I am wiping the sweat off my brow. I don't mean to make anybody jealous. Let me say this. It is hot out this junk. But I want to help you guys understand. Sheree and I are doing a workshop February the 17th, I believe it is. I'm not sure when you'll see this. But even if you've missed it, let us know, and maybe we'll have a replay available for you. But the point I'm making is don't allow time to be an excuse. Don't allow proximity to be an excuse. Don't allow, as my coach would say, how you feel affect the way you flow. Because I'm going to promise you right now, it don't have to be that way.
Right, and another thing in that workshop, and this is something that also helps with you avoiding or helping to stem the tide of boredom in your relationship, is being in community with other couples.
Yeah.
Being in a healthy community with other couples that are doing the same things you're doing, that are going in the same direction, that are striving to have a healthy, functional relationship. That helps to stem the boredom because you're able to have those conversations with other people.
All facts.
You're able to get ideas from other people
All
on what
facts.
they're doing. Instead of you trying to figure this thing out by yourself. We actually have an online relationship academy called MAPS Relationship Academy. You can check the link in the bio. You can schedule a free discovery session with us. That has been the key to our relationship being successful for 25 years, is being in community. Being in a community with other married couples, being able to share with others what we're going through and being able to get feedback from other people that are healthy.
Yeah.
That are striving to
that
have
are built in the same way. I'll leave y'all with this. There's no better feeling than to run a community of men. And we have a men's group within that community. And for one of the brothers to say, hey guys, I'm coming up on my anniversary and I'm running out of ideas of things to do. Anybody got any suggestions? And even though you can Google it, it's something about asking a bunch of brothers who know you well,
And know your wife.
and knows your wife, and be able to remember that you asked this question last year. So let's start from there. What did you do? How did she like it? And then walk out of that room that day with 8 different ideas on what to do for their anniversary, because you're in a community of brothers that know how to talk. At the end of the day, here's what I can promise you. You cannot get to any place of significance by yourself, guys. And the reason is it's because we all need some help. Y'all click the description below.
Like, subscribe, share.
Figure it out. Join us every Thursday as we drop a new episode of Behind Closed Doors.